over the years, what I began to discover was that all groups do not become teams, but all teams become groups. One could say my approach to working with groups are planned group development. And what you'd characterize what I'm doing, when I do with the astronauts, when I do, right now I'm an advisor to the Mars mission, would be to try to maximize team effectiveness and task accomplishment. I'm going to give you 2 frameworks, and out of these 2 frameworks, my hope is it'll begin to have an impact on you in relation to the kind of work that you do. One framework I want to give you is the philosophy of needs in groups. Okay? Groups have 3 basic needs, period. And I want to draw a diagram and talk a few minutes about it and then link it to another diagram. So we have one need that is predominant in group work, in teamwork, is, and I'm going to draw this here, we have here task needs. Okay? In other words, teams, when you take a look at, because I cannot think of a single profession today in which you work by yourself. So in organizations you have teams, you have committees, you have task groups, but they've got to deliver. So task needs mean they've got to be able to be equipped to get the task done. So always remember, task needs means they've got to deliver, they've got to have results. You cannot have a team or a committee in an organization who just does not deliver. But that's not the only piece. You have here what we call team needs, okay? And the team needs are quite different. How do you sustain, nourish the team? You're bringing people together. How do you keep them involved? How do you build trust? How do you allow people to say, you know what, I don't understand what's going on? How do you develop an environment in which people can give feedback to each other? But it can only happen if you are nourishing and building the team. Then there is a third need, a little more complicated, the third need. And the third need is what we call personal needs. Okay? And the personal needs, you must have experienced situations in which you're feeling down, in which you haven't done the work, in which you feel isolated, in which things are not going well, in which your resources and skills are not being used. Well, these needs need to be looked at, need to be addressed. So if you notice here, you have task needs, team needs, personal needs. I don't know whether you can identify with that, but what begins to happen is this. This is where it's important, this little nucleus right here. This red piece simply illustrates when team needs, task needs, personal needs converge, when they feed on each other, when there is a balance of all 3. When there is some kind of balance, then what you begin to happen is this. People's commitment rises, their involvement rises, their work gets different, and you have the team working at the highest level. I don't know if you've heard about high-performing teams. Well, high-performing teams is when all 3 aspects get worked at. Now, I'm sure many of you have been in groups in which there's so much work to be done, so little time, and you say to yourself, you know what, I don't feel like looking at this piece. You know, it's all very well, we all are involved, why talk about where everybody is? And they focus only on the task. When you focus only on the task, initially you get a lot of work done. You do. It's amazing. But then, because you have not focused on the team, the task begins to drop. And the task work begins to suffer. And the personal needs then gets displayed where people start wandering off, being absent, not being there. Now, some people are very relational, and they're saying, no, we got to spend a lot of time on building the team. Well, if you spend too much time on building the team and too little time on the task, initially it's a nice feeling. You're in a team, everybody's focusing on each other and talking and giving time, and there's a sense of nourishment. But when there's an imbalance here, the task begins to suffer, and once more, personal needs don't get addressed. So the dynamic is to get the balance. When you are getting all three and there's a balance and there is replenishment and nourishment and excitement, you get a vibrant environment and you get a learning system and you get what Peter's saying, it talks about a learning organization, okay? And there are not that many. And now I want to give you another framework that helps you capture what does it mean when we're talking about a learning organization. And believe me, that is not easy. It's nice on paper, it's very nice on this whiteboard, it's nice sitting here, but in reality it's very hard.